On a scale from 10 to 10, how much did Sunrise on the Reaping hurt? Hello! So this is basically a part 2 video. I talk about the poem where Lucy Gray got her name from and how it works in the book and how it works for the characters. I also talk about ballads and what they mean and why these books specifically bring us ballads. In this video, I'm going to talk about where the rest of the Covey kids got their names from. I'm going to summarize the poems, analyze them a little bit, and then talk about how they apply to the books. And I say the books because these don't actually reflect on the characters that got their name from them. They pull from all over the series. Let me know in the comments if I missed anything. I was kind of guessing on how these poems relate to the series. I found some really cool stuff though. Keep in mind that these poems have a lot of different versions. People rewrote them, or they started as oral traditions, or different countries got a hold of them and wrote their versions. So if I'm reading one and it doesn't sound right to you, just know that you probably just had another one. And spoiler alert for all 5 books. Barb Azure got her name from probably the most famous poem on this list, Bonnie Barbara Allen. It's in my book under Anonymous Scottish Ballads. There's no author or date, but it's been passed around and rewritten and referenced a whole bunch. Scholars have guessed a couple different authors, but since they're not confirmed, I'm not going to get into that. I had to read this poem in university, and I gotta tell you, I fucking hated it. I don't like this one. I thought it was dumb. One fall, Sir John Graham fell in love with Barbara Allen. He sent his men to her home, and they told her to hurry up and go to him. She took her time getting there. She sees him and says, "I think you're dying." He says, "Yeah, girl, I'm sick because I love you so much." She says, "It's good that we'll never be a couple because you're dying, lol." She rejects him because he insulted her at a bar one time. He says goodbye to his friends. She slowly leaves him and seems upset somehow. She thinks death has robbed him. She barely got away from his house when a bell starts to ring and the guilt sinks in. Her heart then breaks when she realizes she made a mistake, and then she dies. So that's dumb, right? A man loves a woman, she rejects him, he dies for love, and then she realizes that it was a mistake, and then she dies for love. Dying for love is a really popular trope, especially in Europe around medieval and Renaissance times. You will see it in tons and tons of poetry and plays. I talk about this trope at length in my Romeo and Juliet is not a satire video, and I talk about how ridiculous Shakespeare thought this shit was. People really did think this was romantic. You just can't go on without the other person. You can't breathe air without them being in the world. You just fall over dead because you love them so much. And the depiction of these people dying for love typically wasn't like self-unaliving. It was more like a sickness overtakes you and forces you out of the world. It was popular and people liked it because it showed how serious that love was, how authentic they're being. At the time this was written, this poem would have been very romantic and heartbreaking. Something you probably noticed about this poem is that there's not a lot of detail. Even the slight that she rejects him for isn't really explained. All we get is a slight and then they move on. And that's because this is a ballad. Ballads were written about stories with as little detail as possible. All the meat taken off the bones. Ballads also use dialogue when many other forms of poetry don't. They did this because it made it seem more real and gave more authority to the author. Let's look at a little bit of the detail. Bonnie means beautiful, and there's a lot of Scottish slang in this poem, which makes it a little hard to read. There were non-Scottish versions, but they're not in my book, so I don't care. So the very first line in the poem says Martinmas time. Then it says when the green leaves were a fallen. So Martinmas time, I don't know how to pronounce that. That was November 11th, so it's putting this poem in fall, which is foreshadowing that this is going to be a horrible love tale because love in old poems were only for the spring, so if it's in the fall, you're doomed. Also, it's a ballad, which are usually always tragic, so double doomed. So this poem is about checking your ego and understanding that heartbreak is serious and that you have to handle other people with kindness. You should be careful with other people's hearts, and it's really hard to read that poem that way as a modern reader. It just sounds like she dodged a bullet until she didn't. So this poem doesn't have anything to do with Barb, but it does have everything to do with Lucy Gray and Billy Taupe. During Lucy Gray's interview in the Capitol, she sings a song about Billy.
For when the bell rings, lover, you run your home.
She had not gone a mile but twa when she heard the dead bell ringing, and every joe that the dead bell gien, it cried, woe to Barbara Allen. What the fuck are Scottish people on? That's awesome. The Ballad of Lucy Gray Bard, which is the one she sings, is a much better way of telling the story than the Barbara Allen poem. Treat the people you love well and don't think you're above them. Love and heartbreak have the power to bury you or bring you back to life. This bell probably means something from heaven, some kind of sign, some kind of spiritual realization coming. They don't mean literal bells, but they're saying that the guilt will get you eventually. When Lucy Gray gets back from the Capitol and she's singing and Billy comes up to her and tries to like grab her dress and is like stumbling around drunk, I think he did have like it said in that he could lose her because he did. Like, he's a dick, but he genuinely loved her and she genuinely loved him. And I'll talk about this in a later poem, but he still left her for Mayfair. And I think it did set in and he was regretting it. I don't want to give him a pass. I don't like him. We love Tam Amber. We love him, especially after Sunrise on the Reaping when we find out that he made the pin. And he's the protective uncle to Lenore Dove. He gets his name from Tamlin, a Scottish folklore. This one has also been passed down and rewritten a lot. I'm reading the one from Robert Burns, Bobby Burns. You know, the guy who wrote Auld Lang Syne. It's pretty hard to read and all the Scottishness of it. You will need a translation, but it's pretty fun once you understand it. A father tells his daughter not to go to the woods because Tamlin is there, and no one can get through that forest without him taking something from them. Jewelry, clothes, or your virginity. The chorus is that Janet is wearing a green dress around her knees, her blonde hair, and her running to the woods. Tamlin and his silver horse are there. Janet picks a rose and he tells her to stop it. He asks why she came here and she says that the woods belong to her now. Her father gave them to her. The chorus again. Ladies play with a ball and then chess and then Janet is sick, probably from morning sickness. Janet. A knight is worried about her and says that they'll be blamed. She says, "Shut up, knight. I hope you die horribly. I'll father a baby with who I want and father none of yours." Her father points out that she's pregnant. She says, "Oh, my bad. The dad is a fairy king. No one from around here. He's super cool and has a horse." The chorus repeats and she's back in the forest with Tamlin. She's picking herbs and he asks her why she doesn't want the baby. This implies that she is gathering ingredients to make a tea that women would use to miscarry. She asks if he's Christian. He reveals that he's not a fairy while living in the fairy forest with only fairies. His grandfather brought him here while he was a baby. He fell off the horse and the fairy queen caught him and just kept him. The fairyland is nice, but they pay a price to hell every 7 years with a human sacrifice. He thinks that he's gonna get picked this year, so he needs her help. He'll probably get picked tomorrow on Halloween. At midnight, they will ride their horses through the woods. He says, "Wait for my white horse and then pull me off of it. You will see my slutty little ungloved hand and know it's me. Hold me tight. I will be turned into animals by them. And don't let go. I'll be a lizard, a bear, a lion, and then I'll be turned into a hot coal. Drop me in the well, throw clothes on me, and then I'll be free." She gets into position despite the gloom. She can hear the horses, and then she follows his instructions, and then he's free. Fairy Queen says, damn it. She's mad because she's losing her most beautiful boy, but she can't do anything to stop what Janet just did. Another common trope around this time was people going into the forest, meeting fairies, and learning a lesson. That's what Midsummer Night's Dream is about, and that was written in a time where people actually believed in fairies. So there's something called the green space, and that's typically for romance stories. It's where the two lovers leave society, leave logic and societal rules behind, and they go into the forest where they can just be themselves and they can work out anything that's bothering them. When characters in works written around this time go into forests, it means that shit's gonna get weird. The forest is a place for people to not be constrained by rules. It lets them get all that wild shit out of their system, usually solve their problem. When fairies come in and then they start messing with people, it's to show that we usually don't have control over our emotions, because that's what people believed fairies did back then. There's greater forces than us out there. Janet leaves her home, goes to the forest, and is put through a trial where she has to hold on to Tamlin. He turns into a snake, which means sin. It also is a phallic looking object, animal. So she is struggling with the sin of her sexuality, and she wins. She couldn't prove herself, and she couldn't work this out without being in the forest. Something we see a lot in Hunger Games is the forest, or the meadow. It is their green space to work out issues and to be who they are. But the green space isn't somewhere you can live. It's where you work out your shit before you go back to society, and that's why characters in the Hunger Games can never fully run away. We see Katniss and Gale talking about running away, and that never happens. We see Snow and Lucy Gray try to run away, and that clearly doesn't happen. I know the rose seems like a connection to President Snow, but it really isn't. It doesn't symbolize anything that would connect to President Snow. It has everything to do with her virginity. When she picks it, she is signaling her deflowerment. It takes place on Halloween because people then believe that spirits were running free, demons were just running around. This is the one year where like the afterlife or hell is like opened up. Him being thrown in the water as a hot coal and then dressed in a robe after is baptism, baby. The most obvious way that this is connected to the book, other than green space, is the human sacrifices, but that's not what I want to talk about. The scene where Janet is holding on to Tamlin while he turns into horrible beasts that could hurt her, but she's holding on tight so that she can save him, reminds me a little bit of Mockingjay. His eyes were like black pools. The pupils dilated so that the blue irises have all but vanished. The muscles in his wrists were hard as metal. "Leave me," he whispers. "I can't hold on." "Yes, you can," I told him. Peeta shakes his head. "I'm losing it. I'll go mad. Like them. Like the mutts. Like a rabid beast bent on ripping my throat out. And here, finally here in this place, in these circumstances, I really have to kill him. And Snow will win. Hot, bitter hatred courses through me. Snow has won too much already today. It's a long shot. It's suicide maybe, but I do the only thing I can think of. I lean in and kiss Peeta full on the mouth. His whole body starts shuddering, but I keep my lips pressed to his until I have to come up for air. My hands slide up his wrist to grasp his. Don't let him take you from me. Peeta's panting hard as he fights the nightmares raging in his head. No, I don't want to. I clench his hands to the point of pain. Stay with me. It's like frame for frame with the poem, right? In the poem, Janet's love and devotion to Tamlin are being tested and she has to prove herself. Katniss's devotion for Peeta as an ally, as like a Hunger Games partner, as a love interest, as a person, is being tested. He is turned into a type of monster who wants to hurt Katniss from the capital. He could be lost forever to it. All of his memories could be wiped out of his head and he could just be like a little rabid raccoon. Peeta himself and many other characters have told Katniss to abandon him. But Peeta and Katniss have promised each other since the first book that they will always save each other, and Katniss proves that.
That's what you and I do. Keep each other alive.
In the poem, there's also an emphasis on knowing Tamlin, being able to tell him apart from all the other horses, understanding that he's the guy in the forest walking up to her with the flower. She is always saying knowing Tamlin. And when she holds on to him, she knows that he won't hurt her. And she is able to hold on to him because she is so certain in her knowledge of him and in their future together. In Mockingjay, knowing Peeta is emphasized as well. Peeta isn't even sure of his own memories anymore because they have been so wiped and altered from the capital. He asks Katniss, real or not real, and she's the one who is fact-checking his brain. She knows his favorite color, how he ties his shoes, how he drinks his tea. She is the best one to fact-check because she understands him and his soul, and she is so certain about him that she can hold on to him. And she knows so certainly that he is still in there. Oh, bitch, get ready! Maude Ivory gets her name from Maud Clare, a poem by Christina Rossetti. Rossetti was writing around the mid to late 1800s, and she was pretty freaking cool. She was the only woman writing in the pre-Raphaelite movement that actually got her name on her poems, and people recognized her work. She wrote about her frustrations with society, being a woman, and how everyone sucks. Maud Clare is an English ballad about a really sucky love triangle, and it's awesome. Maud Clare follows the couple out of church after their wedding. She is confident, her head is high. The bride looks like a low-class maiden, and Maud looks like a queen. Lord Thomas is the groom, and his mother comes up to him and says, I hope you guys don't cheat on each other. That would suck. She says, oh, your father had an ex that he was thinking about when he married me, but he didn't seem so conflicted. I wasn't as worried as your bride is. Lord Thomas, super torn. Nell, his bride, is just standing there, happy she got picked. But his eyes were on Maude Claire, even when he kissed his bride. Maude steps up to them, says, I have a wedding gift for you. Blessings on your house and your marriage bed. She goes, here's my half a chain we both wore. Remember that? When we were picking lilies in the stream? You remember? Then she goes, here's half of the leaves we picked. Remember that? Our feet in the lilies? Those are fully bloomed now. And then he walks up to Maude, trying to match her energy. He just stutters and then turns away. Maude Claire then walks up to Nell. She says, I have a gift for you too. But just know that if it was a fruit, it'd be eaten. If it was a flower, it'd be crusty. Here, Nell, take the half of his idiot heart I had. Take his worthless, stupid fucking love. Or don't. I don't care. Nell really thinks she did something. She says, yeah, I'll take it. He's my man. And I love him. You might be taller than me, hotter than me, smarter than me, but he picked me. I'm his wife now, and I will love him until he loves me more than you. This is why I read old shit. It's so good. So Lord Thomas is a high-class dude who wanted a socially acceptable wife. And Nell fit like that cookie cutter perfect woman ideal, and Maude Claire didn't. Thomas and Maude Claire were actually in love with each other. They were genuinely in love, and we can see that through the memories that she recounts when she's handing back his shit. But love wasn't enough for him to marry her. This poem shows us Rossetti's frustrations with societal pressure to marry people of higher status or perfect people. It makes love suck ass. Lord Thomas's parents weren't even in love. That's how common this was. The poem wants you, someone in the 1800s, to be sympathetic towards Maude Claire, to feel like she's better off and she kind of dodged a bullet with him. And actually look at the marriage between Nell and Lord Thomas more critically. They are clearly not in love and this is going to suck. Maude Claire doesn't fit the ideals of womanhood in this time. She is assertive, she speaks her mind, and she starts this confrontation, which is fucking out of pocket for back in the day. And against a man, her image doesn't suit his. So he has to do away with her. She is heartbroken, but she doesn't let that change her, and it doesn't make her grovel. She walks in there with her head high, which was a very fresh way of depicting women back then. The poem calls Nell a low-class maiden and Maude a queen because that's how Lord Thomas would see them. When she says, I brought you a gift to bless your marriage, she's saying that you need a fucking blessing. You need all the help you can get, and I'm the one who's gonna do it because both of you keep thinking about me and you can't have a happy marriage. You won't even have a chance at a happy marriage unless you guys both get me out of your fucking heads. She's like, the rent's pretty cheap up here. The leaves were probably picked the same day as the lilies. Lilies are mentioned to imply that they did it. Lilies mean innocence and they were taking them. When she says that the lilies are in full bloom now, she's meant that their relationship ended so early and they weren't able to fully bloom. Maude Claire describing her gift to Nell as an apple she's already eaten. God, that's good. When I said love triangle, you better not have been thinking about Peeta, Gale, and Katniss. The biggest giveaway that this is about Lucy, Claire, Billy, Taupe, and Mayfair is in the pick-me energy. Mayfair and Nell are just happy to be picked. They know that Maude Claire and Lucy Gray have more going on. You're hotter than me, taller, whatever. They don't care, they got picked. And honestly, pick-me's would have a lot more going on with them if they weren't fucking pick-me's. They deserve better than these men, and it's honestly pretty hard not to feel bad for them. Lucy Gray is Maude Claire and how she used to genuinely love Billy Taupe. She feels betrayed by him, but she is done. She is over with him, and she is not gonna grovel. She's not gonna let it change her, and she is not gonna mourn this relationship. The song Lucy Gray sings in the interview is the equivalent of Maude Claire handing back the gifts to him. It's where she recounts memories of them in a good time and also says fuck off.
I am the one who you let see you weeping. I know the soul that you struggle to save.
In my Lucy Gray video, I talked about how things really don't change Lucy Gray. She's not a character with an arc. Like, she gets home from the games and starts playing music at the Hob again. We don't have a Katniss level breakdown from her. Obviously, she's affected, but like, her character showing the affectedness is not there. She is also not changed by being cheated on. This puts her in like a more admirable position. Like Maude Claire, she is the most dignified of all the characters. So Billy Taupe starts up with Mayfair, Probably because she's higher status. I'm having a hard time understanding why, like, what they see in each other. He's just a guy from the Covey with a paperboy hat and no toothbrush. He never thought someone like her would be into him. He probably gets some kind of advantage from dating her, like she'll spend money on him or something. He's still into Lucy Gray, but he goes for Mayfair for that status. Mayfair is super aware that Billy Taupe is still into Lucy Gray.
Lucy Gray!
Billy Taupe!
Girls haven't been without me. No? Honey.
It seems like she's just waiting for Billy Taupe to kind of just forget about her and suddenly switch all of his affection to her. Oh, girl. But she also takes it one step further. The mayor is the one that picks the names in the 10th game. It's not like an Effie trinket on the stage, it's the mayor. And Lucy Gray gets her name picked, so it's implied that Mayfair got her into the games.
Sing your way out of this one, Lucy Gray.
Lucy Gray, I didn't know. I'm sorry.
It's pretty obvious, and that's why Lucy Gray puts the snake in her dress. And it's not like Mayfair's dad is gonna tell her to take the high road. Whether or not Billy Taupe loves her, who cares? If they fight all the time, whatever. She got picked, and that's winning. Speaking of Billy Taupe, I don't know what's worse, him or the poem he's named after. Billy Boy is a folk song from the States. It's based off of one called My Billy Boy from England, but I had a very hard time finding it on Google. Someone, probably his mom, is asking Billy questions about where he's been off to. He's gone to find a wife, and he fell in love with the perfect girl, but she won't leave her mother. In every stanza or verse, Billy is asked another question. Were you welcomed in her home? Yeah. Can she make a cherry pie? Oh yeah. Then she asks, Billy, how old is this girl? And Billy gives us an answer that is concerning. He says 3 times 6 and 4 times 7, 28 and 11. Huh?
Oh, right over there, please.
So 3 times 6 is 18 and 4 times 7 is 28. That doesn't make much sense because all of these verses say that she is young and can't leave her mother. So I doubt she's 18 when people around this time were getting married when they were like 16. I asked my boyfriend to look at this because he's the math guy, and he asked, oh, does the next line mean that he's 28 and she's 11?
Hey, Matt, how are you? Now, Matt, I need to talk to you for a minute. Matt, why don't you have a seat right over there?
But talking is not what he has in mind.
I can't say no. There's no proof that that's not what that means. His age isn't said at all, and this is how her age is said. We don't know. It's not supposed to be clear. You're not supposed to be able to figure it out. He's supposed to be like playfully avoiding the question. This one isn't related to the books as specifically as the other ones are. I thought of Prim first, being too young to leave the home and to enter the games and to be picked. And I thought, well, anything in this poem that could be applied to Prim is something that could also be applied to Rue or any of the other younger tributes. The girl being too young to leave her mother and enter into the real world and being independent, that's every child picked at the reaping. These children are not ready for it. And honestly, adults wouldn't be either. It's children and not adults that are picked in the reaping for a reason though. I use this quote in my Lucy Gray video as well because we credit them with innocence. And even if the most innocent among us turn to killers in the Hunger Games, what does that say? That our essential nature is violence, Snow explained. It's the Capitol trying to show the districts and itself that there are no redeeming qualities to people in the districts. If even the most innocent, the most precious of our people can turn this violent, then there's no saving them. They deserve to be lesser than in the districts. However, the games prove Snow wrong every fucking time. This doesn't have a lot to do with the poem, but I'm a little upset that I forgot to mention it in my Lucy Gray video, so I'm gonna say it here. Under the circumstances in which these kids are put in the games, no one blames them, like no one reading the books blames them for becoming a little violent. No one blames Katniss for dropping the tracker jackers or whatever on the careers. It is self-defense. You were put in the situation. You wouldn't have done that without being put in the situation. Like we don't think that this is their normal nature, even though the Capitol does, like whatever. But my point is that throughout the books, we've seen that many tributes will show kindness to other tributes, even if it puts themselves in danger. In Lucy Gray's games, we see Reaper pulling all the bodies into the center of the arena and covering them with a flag, trying to give them some dignity. In Katniss's game, she sang to Rue as she died, and Thresh knew that Katniss was helping Rue, and he let her go. In Haymitch's games, he adopted like 4 kids and made them potatoes. And that's Lucy Gray's spirit. That's all I got for this one. Fuck Billy and fuck his poem. I've heard of 2 different poems applying to Clerk Carmine. One is this one I'm going to go over, Clark Sanders. One is Clark Covey or something. I like this poem a lot more. I can analyze the other one in another video, but this is the one I went with. This is a ballad from the 16th century. It's another anonymous one with tons of different variations. After the bell rang and the mass was done around midnight, Clark Sanders goes to Margaret's window and he's not very happy. "Are you awake?" he asks. He says, "Please give me back all the love I gave you." She says, "I won't give anything back. We'll never break up until you kiss me on the cheek and chin." He says, "My mouth is cold. I smell like earth. If I kiss you, you'll die. The day is coming. Give me back my love so I can go." She says, "Nope. You won't get it until you tell me what happens to women who die in childbirth." He says, "Their beds are made in heaven, right by God, surrounded by flowers. It's beautiful." Then he says, "Roosters say it's day. The church will start again. I have to go." She gives him an oath that she will give the love back. "Thank you, Margaret. If the dead ever come to the living, I'll come for you again." She gets dressed and follows him. She loses him in the forest. She finds him in his grave and asks if there's any room in there. "Can I lie down?" He says, "There's no room. I'm covered up by grain and a burial cloth. My bed is low. I sleep with hungry worms. This is my resting place that is always wet with tears." That is so sad and romantic. It is so good. I couldn't pick the other poem. This one was so, oh, it's beautiful. I think it's my second favorite one out of all these. Like Lucy Gray's poem, this one is very supernatural. He's dead and he's gotten him from his grave to go to the woman he loved while he was living and tells her to move on with her life. "I'm dead, go move on." She doesn't want to. She wants to be with him, but he refuses. That's why he won't kiss her, and that's why he won't let her lay in the grave. He says, "There's no room in here," which means that you need to keep on living. It's not your time yet. There's 2 things in this poem that aren't really said, but are very important to the plot. First is that Clark is dead, and I want to ask you with the second one, but it makes me feel like Dora. Margaret's pregnant. It wasn't too rare for women to die in childbirth back then, or today. She's worried about her afterlife, if they'll be together, what will happen to her. He probably died really recently and it's his kid. There are cycles that show up in this poem. It starts with it being midnight and the church has let out, and then halfway through the church is starting up again and the sun is rising. So day and night, and then we have the mention of death and we have the mention of childbirth. It's about love transcending death, and a really beautiful way of depicting someone missing another person. This one, baby, is about Haymitch. "When Lenore Dove comes to me now, she's not angry or dying, so I think she's forgiven me. She's grown older with me, her face etched in fine lines, her hair touched with gray, like she's been living her life beside me as the years passed, instead of lying in her grave, still so rare and radiant. I fulfilled my promise about the reaping, or at least lent a hand, but she says I can't come to her yet. I have to look after my family." Haymitch then goes on to quote Lucy Gray's song where she says nothing you can take was ever worth keeping, and he says that they never really took Lenore Dove from him. He just can't wait to be with her again. And like, Haymitch. Fucking Haymitch. Oh my god. You sap. I'm not speaking for people who have experienced the loss of a partner. I'm just talking about what the poem is arguing, so when I say this, don't. I just mean the poem. But love can't separate you, and you don't have to move on. Love means that you will always be together, whether or not you're divided by life and death. Just like Margaret, Haymitch will never give his love back. And like Margaret, he wants to join his love in the afterlife, but they say, no, it's not your time yet. Margaret has to raise her child, and Haymitch has to raise his little geese. Katniss giving Haymitch the fucking eggs broke me. That's when I started bawling my eyes out. Again, there's not much to say past this. It's just a beautiful way to depict missing someone. I think that's all I got for this video. I'm very hungry and I'm very tired, and I would very much like to stop talking to my phone now. There's a lot to remember in 5 books, so if I missed anything, please leave it in the comments. You done fucked me up. I hope you like this video. Thank you for being here. And go read an old poem. They're so much fun. If you find a fun one, I'll analyze it. Obviously, I can't stop talking about poetry. I'm getting hungry. Oh my god. I'm running out of steam. What the fuck is this? I got a bicky on my shirt.